Commissioner
Can I ask
Khumalo.
a more direct question?
Yes, sir.
Looking at these documents, speaking for myself, it looks like there was a hidden hand driving IDEX investigations into crime intelligence and PKTT. And the question is, who and what is that hidden hand? Because this is not Mr. Adams's complaint. We've established that.
Correct.
So where do all these things come from? I mean, if you just look at that entire Annexure B, this is not Mr. Adams's complaint, not just item 6, but going into why Jacobs doesn't want to come back, going into performance assessments of all major generals from 2022-2023, not just Jacobs or Khumalo, if that was the issue, why Jacobs doesn't want to come back, of all generals, of all provincial heads, of all section heads. This is a much broader investigation into crime intelligence and, quite clearly, all members of PKTT. Who was driving this? Because it's clearly not Mr. Adams. This is not Mr. Adams's complaint. This is now something else altogether.
I hear you, Commissioner. And
does it look that way to you too? Because I could be completely wrong. Let's be fair. I could be way off the mark. It's my observation, and it could be 100% wrong. You sitting there now looking at this, what does it look like to you?
so, I hear, Commissioner, and I'm not saying that your conclusion may not be wrong when you read it as you read it. I'm saying I am briefed on this matter by a chief investigator, and the investigators conduct the investigations. At the time I signed this, I have nothing within my knowledge to gainsay the authenticity or the truth of what is being put to me. However, in the manner that it comes forward, and given the fact that I've also indicated I have not seen an investigation, and we don't have one, into the political killings task team, the project manager who sits with all of the documentation confirms the same, as does Mr. Padiachi. The question that I am unable to answer for you is why this.
But you knew that there's a Section 27, and you would have seen it at the latest, according to you, in mid-December, earliest sometime in November. And that should be the genesis of all the investigations IDEC is conducting. Now, assuming that that is the starting point, now look at item 1 to item 8 of this annexure to the summons that you issued in your name or that you signed on behalf of IDEC. What does it look like to you? Just looking at, bearing in mind that your starting point is your Section 27, which you have seen. Just look at this. And draw an inference if you must, because you are not the investigator and you don't know who they are talking to and what that person is saying to them. But you know that they must be guided by the Section 27. And then they bring this to you. Now you look at it, what does it look like?
That they must be guided, Commissioner Khumalo, by the Section 27, the A1, additional A1, which we now see yesterday is different in most regards.
Now my question is, looking at this Annexure B, if you had to draw an inference, what would that inference be?
That the investigator had other information.
Or other motives. Or they were conducting other investigations that had nothing to do with Mr. Adams's complaint.
Or the A1 or the supplementary, yes.
And it begs the question, who was driving this? And what was the motive? Commissioner Baloy's question on Thursday. What was IDEC's motive? Was there political interference? Was there infiltration? Because those are the answers this commission must ask. It's great that we are looking at facts, But facts point to individual cases where things went wrong. What is the big picture? Is it political interference? Is it infiltration of IDEC by unknown people? Is it a hidden hand that we don't see in any of these documents? Those are the questions we must ask ourselves.
And the best person to answer would be the person who drew up this document and indicate the basis on which he lay for these documents.
Up until yesterday, July of 2026.
Correct. This again...
My apologies. Commissioner Baloyi engaged with you suggesting that you must have asked questions. You have an engagement with whoever presents the subpoena for your signature and approval, and you confirmed that, yes, those interactions were had. So you must have discussed item 6, the digging into the PKTT. What were you informed about that? And did it cross your mind that on what basis, to inquire on what basis are we investigating PKTT? And any aspect of PKTT for that matter.
The questions from what I can recall, Chair and Commissioners, is it related again to the promotions, and that was all it related to.
This is PKTT. You specifically mention it there.
To promotions.
Why are you investigating promotions within PKTT?
I can honestly not recall asking them about the PKTT as the PKTT. I would have asked questions around the applications. Well, wouldn't have asked about the PKTT. The original documentation, file and applications for promotions of the commanders, for me, dealt with the issue of the promotions we were dealing with.
It says commanders and members, so it's not limited to commanders. It says commanders and members.
And if I may add, not of SAPS, but specifically of PKTT. So you can't divorce that entire inquiry from PKTT.
So what this means is that IDAC was looking at the entire membership of the PKTT, and the question is why? Yes. Why was IDAC investigating promotions and appointments in the PKTT? What was IDAC's interest in the PKTT?
And maybe while you consider your answer, let me read for you what you said in the ad hoc committee. You were discussing the PKTT and their involvement with that the National Commissioner said to you, I will arrange with the PKTT. He did not make clarification. You don't need to go there, but I'll read it for you. At 583, you say, and then the PKTT, like I indicated, it is a name that is known, but what they did, who they reported to, what the actual work was not within my knowledge and purview. So you say to the ad hoc committee, I know nothing about the PKTT. Keep that in mind when you explain, when you give your answer to Ms. Sillo's question and Commissioner Khumalo. It's page 583, right at the bottom. That's 53. And it continues over leaf.
And if I may perhaps broaden precisely that point, at 583, please read your entire response. Consider that, where you say you were in, Advocate Arendse asked you, when did it first come to your knowledge of the existing of this task team, I guess the existence of this task team? That was the question. And you say, I indicated that when Lieutenant General Mkwanazi on the 6th of July indicated that IDEC had arrested a member of PKTT, we did not know what he was talking about because we had arrested Lieutenant General Kumalo, and then what Commissioner Baloyi read out for you, which is the remainder of your own response.
Is it 583?
Yes, what I think both Commissioner Baloyi and I read from. 583, I just started with Advocate Arence's question.
Oh, at the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom
Sorry.
1/3 of 583. Chair, I see it's 10:56. Perhaps the questions posed to Advocate Johnson on this particular topic may require her to consider a few documents. Might not be more appropriate that she does so during the tea adjournment.
That is correct, Commissioner Kumalo, and then it conflicts in any event with what is asked in point 6 of the summons.
Advocate Johnson, you could not possibly have signed the summons that we are discussing without having gone through it line by line, sentence by sentence. Am I correct?
Correct, Chair.
Now, if that be the case, especially regard being heard to the fact that you say IDEC was not investigating the PKTT, on what basis, having read paragraph 6 of this, of Annexure B, on what basis would we have authorized paragraph 6 of this document? And the answer, let me upfront say, cannot lie in whatever briefing you may have been given. It cannot lie there. So on what basis would we have authorized paragraph 6 of the summons?
Again, Chair, and not to be obstinate, I really rely on I rely on a briefing. What I'm saying is, I would have asked questions about this. I need to engage Paramount. What did we talk about this? And for this to land here, for me to have attested my signature. I was able to explain the other things, including about Jacobs. I'm unable to give Chair a reasonable explanation.
You are stating what IDEC was not investigating in the past tense. So I understand that to mean that even at the time you signed the summons, that was your understanding. PKTT is not being investigated, correct?
Chair.
It is exactly for that reason that I say to you, the answer for authorizing paragraph 6 cannot lie in a briefing that you might have been given. It cannot. That briefing would have been irrelevant to what was being investigated, correct?
Correct.
Now, if it were irrelevant, paragraph 6 would also have been irrelevant in terms of what you required for purposes of your investigation, correct?
Correct, sir.
Now it must follow automatically then that you ought not to have authorized paragraph 6 of the summons, correct?
I agree with the chair.
Yeah. So, are you able to explain then? Because, again, I repeat, the briefing is totally irrelevant. On what basis then did you authorize paragraph 6 of the summons?
I don't have an explanation for you, Chair. Not from just my reading of it. And exactly what I say is, and I really don't want to frustrate you and be going in circles. That's not my...
Sorry. I will let you answer and say everything you want to say. I just want to say, I assure you I'm not going to be frustrated. Please go ahead.
Thank you. It's just, for me, sometimes it is the context that triggers why I did something. I'm reading it as I read it.
Yes.
And as irritating as it may be, I do need the context of what was discussed between Mr. Perumal and I. In the absence thereof, I have no explanation for you, Chair, given that I have indicated that we had no investigation against the PKTT.
Yeah, based on the discussion that you and I have just had, do you think that context could ever change the picture? Because you say you've agreed with me that whatever briefing you might have been given would have been irrelevant to what was being investigated for the simple reason that you were not investigating the PKTT. So I do not understand how context, as you put it, could have been relevant to the question as to why you authorized paragraph 6. If the briefing could not be relevant, how could this context be relevant? Or let me ask it this way, maybe we will go quicker that way.
Sorry.
Just like the briefing would have been irrelevant, something you've agreed to, I suggest to you that the context as well would have been irrelevant. Do you agree? Surely you must.
I agree. I can't take this point any further. I'm not going to get to a reasonable explanation for this.
Yes. So that, in a sense, ties in with Kumalo's, I'm very sorry, with Commissioner Kumalo's point that isn't what is behind all of this some inarticulate premise that we have not been told about? Isn't that the real explanation? Sandy. Do you want to please respond?
I didn't even see him accept your apology, Chair. No, I took the point. I took the point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you, before you leave this annexure, I wanted to deal with the Public Service Commission report of August 2023. If you're going to deal with it, I'm going to.
Now, I'm just going to make comments regarding the PKTT, but we are still in that annexure. By the annexure, we're talking Section 28 summons.
They are all part of...
and the responses thereto, which would have been the documents received pursuant to that summons.
Yes.
Yes.
So then let me leave it and then...
No, I'm still on PKTT for now. As soon as, and when I'm done, then perhaps, Commissioner, you may...
But if you're going to deal with it,
no,
I
wasn't. My time pressure. My issue is, and having listened to your interaction with the commissioners, this is where we land. You, the person who authorized this Section 28, have absolutely no recollection why it is you authorized investigations into the PKTT and how its members are appointed and the like. You suggest that it's Mr. Perumal who would have told you. Once again, I ask you, when should Mr. Perumal be sitting where you are and be confronted with the same question, and he says, I have absolutely no recollection? What do you suggest the commissioners make of all this? both of you, the only people who were in that conversation that can explain away paragraph 6, say you both don't have a recollection. And if that is the case, your discussing it amongst yourselves become irrelevant because neither can remind the other. Where do we land?
Or worse still, Advocate Johnson, he doesn't say he has no recollection, but he says, I never said anything about this. Please.
Indeed, thank you, Chair. That's the question. Please guide the Commission as to what it must make of the investigation into the PKTT and how it came about, and the basis thereof.
So commissioners only work on the basis of what I get from the rest of the team, which is he compiled this. So for him to then indicate he has no idea, I do not see how he's going to be able to indicate he has no idea. But if we both don't have an idea, I think then Commissioner's going to have to make a referral for some kind of treatment at a facility, because all of us can't be sitting here. And
For both of you, or just him?
No, so on a lighter note, I have to take it from where it comes, Commissioner. His fellow investigator says he's compiled this. And so he'd have to give an explanation. Whether or not it is one that is accepted is a different story, Commissioners and Council, but there is no way that he won't have an explanation for this.
Please make me understand, why does he bear the full responsibility to remember what your conversation was about? The conversation was between the two of you, but you don't bear that responsibility. It is enough for you to say, I don't remember. Why does he assume the full responsibility for that conversation?
Not because I don't bear the responsibility, it's because I have many conversations on many matters. And so the investigators invariably would engage. Either they would have kept notes, and or because it is their matter, it is easier for them to engage me. We engage as we do, and then I'm able to, in their presence, having had that engagement, sign the Section 28. So I'm not running away from having a responsibility. It's the number of things they present versus what I have to deal with.
Let me take it a step forward. And if he were to come here, we are now in the arena of conjecture, accept. If he were to come here and say, now I do recall that the ID and I had a full engagement on it, and I explained why it is necessary to obtain those documents from PKTT. If that were to be the answer, what do you want the commissioners to make of that? Do you suggest that the commissioners should reject it? And I suggest that, in turn, that you cannot, because you don't remember what the conversation was about. Or, so what do you... You are head of a very powerful institution, and I personally can learn a lot from you. So maybe you may just cast some pearls of wisdom the direction of the commissioners if you are so inclined. Thank you.
It would become important why this was put in, and where did he get this information from? Because I also don't run away from the point that the chair made. Were they having engagements with other people? How did it come about that this became a pertinent thing? And then talks to the question or the summation by Commissioner Khumalo, is there, so did you say, Commissioner Khumalo, underhand or third hand? I don't know.
A hidden hand.
Sorry, I got both hands wrong. That there is a hidden hand. Because that is an engagement this commission would be fully entitled to have and might arrive
and
at an answer.
By extension, you are suggesting that should it be concluded that there is a hidden hand, you have neither...
In her appointment as a Major General in the post in that district. Similarly, I was not aware that Madondo did not have a top secret clearance when she was recommended for the lateral transfer to the division CI. I was also unaware that her application for a top secret clearance was refused.
Assume all of that is correct. Assume all of that is correct. What does it have to do with IDEC? Is it IDEC's mandate to investigate lateral transfers within subs and whether they were regularly done or not.
It was the issue of the vetting.
But does IDEC investigate whether somebody's vetting is correct or not? Is that IDEC's mandate?
No, and this is one of-
May I piggyback on that? We've taken the liberty of projecting Section 7. Please indicate accepting the correctness of the affidavit that you have just, parts of which you have read into the record. Where do we fit in that Section 7, 1 capital A?
It would trip me up, as Commissioner Baloy already did, in relating, you have the top and relating to, not and. And so where ordinarily one looked at her fraudulent utterances, the fraud she perpetuated by indicating that she did have, and it's important to note because that the person whose affidavit we read at 2811 is very clear. I wouldn't have proceeded with this process knowing that, but it does not, given the discussions we had the other day.
Okay, then can I just follow on that? You're saying the fraud she perpetuated, that then speaks to General Madondo. What does General Kumalo have to do with that? Does the docket suggest he's part of that fraud as well?
The suggestion is he knew she had no clearance and that she had pending matters, which was the basis on which she could not be properly vetted and or transferred.
On that score, perhaps I don't immediately have it now, and I'm interested in the response you just gave Commissioner Baloy. Are you aware of an interview on TV, I don't remember which channel, of Mr. O'Sullivan claiming that on these matters, including the hiring of Brigadier Mkwele, that he had discussions with inter alia IDEC? Are you aware of that interview or that claim by Mr. O'Sullivan? And whether or not you are aware of it, perhaps I'll take it further. Did you have any discussions, you being IDEC, of course, with Mr. O'Sullivan regarding these matters, the investigations that IDEC is conducting, and how it came to conduct them? And if you had any such conversations, can you provide the context?
No, I haven't had conversations.
But is it I personally or IDEC?
I personally. I cannot dispute he might have engaged IDEC staff.
Let me ask,
Sorry.
are you aware whether he has engaged? Let's ask more positively. Are you aware whether Mr. O'Sullivan has had any engagement of any sort with your IDEC people, not you, because you say you haven't, with your IDEC people?
I am aware, Commissioner Baloy, that he would have had from time to time engagements with investigators.
Relating to these matters?
I don't know if it relates to this matter on PKTT or which matter.
The crime intelligence
the crime
matters
intelligence
that arise, that we are dealing with, that we've been dealing with for the many days that you've been there.
Yes, so I'm not aware what he engaged them on, but if he said he met with them, then I have nothing to gainsay it. And so what he would have discussed with them, he would have discussed with them. But I think I did say to the evidence leader that if we had a discussion, the likelihood would have been with Mr. Rapeso.
Why Rapeso?
Because he had been in IPAT for a long time, and I know that Mr. O'Sullivan and IPAT had a relationship of sorts over the years. So the most familiar person he would have been would have been Mr. Rapeso in terms of this matter. I know he knows other people in IDEC, so we'd have to just check with Mr. Rapeso that whether they had a conversation.
Okay, even accepting that for a moment, who is Mr. O'Sullivan within the law enforcement environment? Why would IDEC be discussing its ongoing investigations with him? And on what basis would that happen? And you suggesting possibly Mr. Rapeso and others, would you consider it appropriate for any one of them to be having this engagement with Mr. O'Sullivan?
It's not an engagement. If they had an engagement, it wouldn't have been about the investigations. It would have been if Mr. O'Sullivan spoke to IDEC investigators purporting to give them information. That would have been the only basis on which he would have had to engage. As can anybody from outside bring information, but not that they've brought the information and you then discuss if there is a relevant investigation pertaining to that matter, that you discuss it with him. You don't discuss it with him or any other outsider. The rule is not different.
So then is it safe to assume that if he had done so, I don't know what discussions you suggest he had with IDEC, then if he's giving information, that information would find itself into a relevant docket?
It should.
And should we land at a place where there is no documentary proof in any docket that there was such an engagement, then how do we explain away those engagements?
If he's had engagements, they would have, if they had engagements with him, it would depend on the value of what came out of them. A lot of the time it might just be mind over matter and not substance that then didn't have to be dealt with. But if there was substance to it, and if it was in any way able to amplify or corroborate something in the investigation, it would move into the investigation. The investigators would make that assessment, Chair.
So where he claims